I'm Rachel.
And I'm Amanda.
And this is episode 21 of Books and Bingos. This week we'll be recommending some dark academia books with our special guest, Deb Zeman, also known as Zebrarian. Welcome, Deb. Tell us a little
Thank
bit
you.
about yourself.
Hi, everybody. I am Deb Zeman. I am a high school librarian in North Texas. It's my 25th year in education, ninth in the library. And before that, I worked in publishing for 10 years, and I'm just really excited to be here.
Oh, I didn't know you worked in publishing. That's interesting. I bet that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was. I was in the inventory where it's like, do you remember, Book of the Month Club? It used to be Literary Guild Doubleday Book Club way back when. And I started first in the mixed media, which was VHS and CDs. And I was running the inventory for the clubs, making sure the orders were in and whatever. And then a couple years later, moved over to Bookspan when they all got lumped under the same thing. And I was in charge of Literary Guild and Book of the Month Club there for books, and got lots of stuff free way early, kind of like now.
That's nice. That is so nice.
Getting ARCs when I didn't realize they were actually ARCs, like we know now. You know what I mean? Back then, I was like, oh, thanks. Okay.
All right, ladies, our topic today is dark academia. Why do you think this is such a fun category to do, especially in the fall?
It's definitely one that I think Deb is a huge fan of, and I think Rachel is too. And it's funny, I don't look forward to it or anything because I'm not that much into spooky, but once the time starts to happen, the time changes and it gets a little cooler in Texas.
Yeah.
I start to feel those vibes too. And I want all things Burr months, right? Rachel and I did a Burr month challenge last year because it's just football and pumpkins and leaves. I enjoy fall once it gets here.
Yeah. Well, it's the whole back to school, and because all these stories take place at a school, it makes you think, okay, what do we not know about these kids? Are they all going to turn into these, like a one of us is lying kind of Karen McManus thing? So, and once I get into them, I can read like 10 of them in a row just because they can be fast paced. You get so connected with the characters, and you just sometimes you want to cheer for that enemy.
Yeah. I love the dark academia because I like a school setting, but I like it more on the dark side. I want it to be at this, really old college that has all this history and possibly an unsolved murder. I like all that, zhuzh in those old schools. I don't want to read necessarily about just a random high school today. Those aren't nearly as fun.
It's kind of like when I was doing some organizing the other day in the library, there was Weight of Blood. And I was like, that is one I wish I could reread again for the first time because it just blew my mind. And it's so dark academia addressing issues that are still happening today. So
that's great. We'll be doing Tiffany Jackson here soon. So she'll be a highlight coming up in a future episode.
Yay!
All right, Amanda, go ahead and tell us about your first pick.
So my first pick for our Dark Academia episode is I Have Some Questions for You by Rebecca Makkai. This is an adult book, and it's one that I'd seen kind of all over the internet. The cover's very pretty with the colors, and I just and I didn't know when I was researching Dark Academia books that it was actually Dark Academia. You don't get a whole lot of that genre as in the adult arena, which I'm here for it. Love reading about anything dark, in the academic setting. And so when it's adults, it's usually on a college campus, which is where our setting is for this. Bodie Kane is living a successful life in LA as a podcaster and a film professor. But she decides to take on 2 classes teaching at Granbury School. And it's the high school private school that she went to as a high schooler, and it brings back a lot of memories that she wished she could forget because her high school roommate, Talia, was murdered while they were roommates together. And at the time, the school's athletic trainer was convicted of the murder and is still in prison. But when Bodhi's students decide to do a podcast assignment on the case, it brings up a lot of other potential suspects, including the music teacher that everyone loved, including Bodhi. So I did find this one to be a little bit long for what the story was, but I felt like the writing was very well done. I listened to this one on audio, and I just found myself like very immersed in Bodhi's life, and you get to see the good and the bad parts. She's not just your straight 100% protagonist. Like, she has flaws that she's working through as well. So definitely very interesting. If you have read The Maidens, which is one that I found it to be a lot like, and it's one Rachel's going to talk about in a little bit. I think you'll really enjoy this one. Content warnings include death, adult minor relationship, murder, sexual assault, sexual harassment, toxic relationship, blood, eating disorder, drug use, alcohol, forced institutionalization, gaslighting, confinement, misogyny, grief, and classism. All the fun things. The bingo squares for this one would be dark academia.
Also, that I have seen this cover everywhere. I feel like it has showed up everywhere. I haven't really heard anybody talk about it, but as soon as I saw that title, I remembered the cover for that one.
Right?
So very
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
All right, Deb, tell us about your first pick.
Okay, my first pick is called Perfect Little Monsters by Cindy R.X. Key. I'm guessing that's how you say her last name. It is someone's murdered the queen bee of Sireton High. It's very weird spelling this one. High school. All the dead girls' friends are suspects, and each one has a reason for her wanting her dead. I look at this as part Mean Girls with a dash of Karen McManus, full on twists through the whole thing. Dawn is our main character. She's moved from Santa Cruz to Wisconsin in with her aunt after her parents' accident leaves them unable to work or afford their home. She's trying to fit in. She joins the cheerleaders in a way in order to get into the group. And we meet Ella, Naomi, and Luciana, the queens of mean. Though Ella is really the queen of mean. Once she gets onto the cheer squad, she's invited to a party where she hopes to get to know everybody else. And however, the party turns a little tragic when Ella is found dead the next day.
Mm-hmm.
And so it becomes this whole who done it. Was it Dawn? Was it Ella's boyfriend Scott? Where was it one of the other two girls? The thing that I really liked is it kept me guessing. The characters were really well developed. It's dual point of view. You get Dawn, but then you also get Hannah. And you really don't know who Hannah is. And I'm just going to leave it at that because I could say what I want to next, but I'm not going to because no spoilers on this. The book is out now. The content warnings are bullying, depression, body image, eating disorder, suicide, mental health, murder, and death. It was
That
good.
Sounds good.
It was so good.
It was just, it's so Karen McManus-esque. You know, it leaves you going, okay. But as you keep going and the chapters start to get a little shorter, you're kind of like, okay.
Like a frenzy.
Yes. And it's kind of like, okay, I definitely know who did it. And then it's just slaps you in the face and you go, okay, I was totally wrong on that one. So it was really good. And I think this may have been her debut because I've not seen her written anything else. So
yeah, and it was just like a home run. I absolutely loved it. I read it in May for AAPI month. And wow, I was just like it's rare, I think, for us to like have like, oh wow, about a we've read so many YA thrillers and adult thrillers and stuff like that. But this one, it got me. I was like, okay, I didn't see that coming.
And there was a little romance in there, but it's not focused solely on that. It's just kind of like there's this little possibility, but let's figure out who killed Ella. And are the girls next? And will they still be mean girls? And the thing I liked about this too is the author definitely explores the rationale for the other girls and why they're considered mean girls. That's what I really liked about it too. They weren't just the little sidekicks. You learn more about the two mean girls also.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That sounds great. Well, I'm going to take us in a little bit of a different direction with more of a college setting with The Maidens by Alex Michaelidis. This is an adult mystery, and there is a little bit of tie-in with the first book, which I literally gasped when I got to that part. I felt like I was on an inside joke with the author, but you definitely can read them separately. You do not have to have read The Silent Patient first. This is perfect dark academia material. We have Greek mythology, murder, secrets, twists. This is everything I wanted from A Secret History, which a lot of people have recommended as a great one, and that one wasn't for me. This is what I'm looking for. Our main character is pulled into this dangerous situation at this beautiful college when several students are murdered, and it appears a professor on campus with this little cult following might be connected to the deaths. It's dark, twisty, it's perfect. It'd be a great back to school read. I want to live inside this book, I feel like. I mean, maybe not being one of the people who dies, but to get to live on the college campus, I think that would be so much fun. And I think that's why I really love these. I want to be on these just dark, ivy covered college campuses all the time. This one has a trigger warning for murder, death, violence, blood, grief, death of a loved one, adult minor relationship, stalking, abuse, self-harm, etc. There are a ton of them on Storygraph if you need to look up any more or any more specifics. This will work for dark academia, New York Times bestseller, book setting you'd like to visit for our squares.
Woo woo! I loved it. I love, is it Alex? How do you say? Is it Michaelidis? Is that how you pronounce it?
It could be. I never can
I
say
don't know either, but I love his books mainly because like The Silent Patient, like everyone is just like that book was one of the ones that I think really kicked off this like, people being fans of this particular genre. Because it's still all over Book Talk and Bookstagram. But I really like this one too. And I'm not really into Greek mythology that much. And I was surprised to find I actually really enjoyed it.
That's how you know you're getting into a good dark academia. If they're throwing around some Greek myths, you're on the right track. All right, Amanda, tell us about your next pick.
Okay, so my next one is The Lilies by Quinn Diacon-Furtado. Um, they wrote this book and it has the most stunning cover, and that's really what drew me in. I can kind of tell it's dark academia from just the cover because it has like like the deep colors, like the fall feels, and it has like a and it's like it's flowers, but it has like a wallpaper look to it. And I just loved it before I even knew what the book was about. Yes, we do judge books by their covers, y'all. This one follows four students at a girls' school, an all-girls school called Archwell Academy. And they all have these terrible secrets from the same night. It was this celebratory evening, like the founders party kind of a thing. And it leaves one girl missing. And none of these girls really have anything to do with each other, but they are stuck together during a lockdown at this in like the headmaster's office because one of the girls, that's her mom, and they go into a closet because they're doing like a lockdown drill, and they soon realize that this closet has a special ability to time travel back to their worst mistakes in the hopes of changing the outcome. So a little different from your normal dark academia. There is like secrets and death and murder and that kind of stuff that you normally see on a dark academia school setting book. But the fact that they're able to time travel makes it a little bit sci-fi. For some reason, I think I was thinking it was going to have more like fantasy elements. But the time travel part is really the only part that's, otherworldly. They each get to go back to in the storyline to like watch the other person live through this horrible moment. but all of them want to keep it a secret still. So it's an interesting dynamic between the girls, and one of the characters is non-binary. And so to be able to keep the secret, but yet try to fix the secret. So that was interesting to read about. The LGBTQ rep was great. That's what originally drew me to the book, besides the cover, because you don't get a whole lot of dark academia that are focused on LGBTQI plus characters. Um, it was a lot of points of view to kind of keep track of, as each one gets to try to relive their part, but it was definitely a unique topic. I've never seen that before. It had a bit of Groundhog's Day vibes to it. The content warnings would be misgendering, death, forced outing, drug and alcohol use, transphobia, a school shooting lockdown situation, classism, and racism. And the squares that it would work for are 2024 release, dark academia, and LGBTQI plus rep.
Huh.
Interesting. I saw the
Very
cover when
nice.
you posted it, and it really was a really nice cover.
It's so
Yeah.
pretty.
All
I think
right.
it was originally Danielle Clayton's idea. I'm not quite sure if
Oh,
that was the author, but I don't think she had time to write it. I think I read that on Goodreads. And so Quinn took the idea and they decided to run with it. So definitely that's what I wondered about the concept, because
yeah.
it was so unique. And I think Quinn is a debut author. So definitely want I was like, oh, okay, I can see, got some ideas from writer friends. That's always fun. So
Interesting.
yeah.
Wonderful. All right, Deb, tell us about your next pick.
Okay, mine is You're Dead to Me by Amy Christine Parker. It's coming out in December. It is a mixture of the dark academia with a little bit of paranormal thrown into it. So it's a YA horror novel that follows a high school outcast and anonymous social media gossip, Ruby, who comes face to face with her own ghost dressed in a blood-splattered prom dress. With less than a week until the dance, Ruby must unmask her killer or die trying. It's a very fast-paced mystery that has really well-developed characters and this plot that just keeps pushing you forward, because you're like, okay, her ghost is trying to help her solve her murder, but she's not dead yet. And it's like she does everything in her power to try to change it. It's almost kind of like a weird time travel, but it's not a time travel because you can't change no matter what. Um, the paranormal definitely added a bump to the story, while it focuses on the damage that social media can cause, because she runs what's called the Reputation Killer account. And it's her way of getting revenge against, what do they call them? That it's Oleander, I believe, is the school, and they're like the elite. And it's these guys and the girls and whatever. And she's always trying to knock them down a peg because her family runs an alligator animal attraction, like one of those old timey things. And they're always trying to like make fun of her and shut it down. And so she picks all of her victims. She's able to hide herself. She's like hidden in plain sight. They don't see that she's taking pictures and doing all this investigating. A lot of the twists in the book were a little predictable, but some kind of was like, wait, what? As you just keep, because it says it's her ghost, or is it her ghost? You keep going back and forth to this whole thing. There's an LGBTQ element. Her two best friends are her guy best friends, who do a sweet promposal to her because they want her to go to prom. We've been together for all these years. We need to go. And she's just like, ah. So they talk her into it. And basically, every chapter is super short. And the thing I absolutely loved is, and I'm going to make a playlist, every title was a song title. And so I wrote down the whole thing, and I'm going to make a playlist and post it out on Spotify. And every title had something to do with that chapter. So the chapter could be a page and a half, but it was like, oh my God, that so fit everything that was going on in there. And to throw another wrench in there, there's also a serial killer on the loose called the Mannequin Killer. So between dealing with her reputation killer account and now this mannequin killer and her ghost, it's just a constant, okay, what's going to happen? Who's going to be the next victim? Is she going to be a victim? Who is it and why? This is coming out in December. The content warnings, violence, drug use, issues with parents, animal death, bullying, serial killer, hallucinations, blood, and murder. This is one that just kept me on my toes until the end. Lots of humor. The two best friends are a kick. And you're just like, okay, I would like a story just about those two, but it really keeps you guessing until the end.
Yay, that sounds
She's
awesome.
got a lot going on.
Right?
I mean,
Oh yeah, it's a
she's a busy
constant.
gal.
Wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. Yeah.
As one does in high school, you know.
Oh yeah.
It's a killer account running from a
Mhm.
serial killer.
Mhm.
Oh, speaking of, have you seen Good Girl's Guide to Murder that just dropped on Netflix this weekend or this
No,
past
any
week?
good?
I haven't watched it either,
Oh,
but
okay.
I love that series. And since
Oh
we're
yeah.
kind of talking about a murder, it
I just
reminded me.
hesitate sometimes because you know how, I mean,
I
what
know.
was it? A couple of years ago when we did Texas Tea and we were talking to Danielle Clayton,
Hmm.
she said that her first series
Oh,
was
Tiny Pretty
nothing
Things.
like the book.
No.
Her dad was with her watching it and said, this is not, what is this? This is not her book. And she's supposed to be bringing Blackout
Yes.
as a series with the
Yes.
Obamas. And I
Mhm.
asked her, okay, is it going to be another? And she's like, no, we have full whatever. But I
And
don't
I
know.
think
That's a
that's
couple of years.
the thing is that if authors have no control, you know, they
Yeah.
don't get a say. But yeah, I had been recommending Tiny Pretty Things series leading up to it for months to all of my dancer girls. And then it ends up being like almost NC-17 of content. And I felt awful, but I wanted to be like, that wasn't in the book. So I
Right.
felt so bad. But
But
yeah,
that's like the one of us is lying. I
yeah,
tried one episode and I went,
yeah.
huh?
They don't always get it right. But when an author has a lot of say in it,
Mm-hmm.
generally that's a good fit.
Like
The
Diana
new,
Gabaldon in The Outlander.
yeah, yeah.
There you go.
And this next week, the Colleen Hoover movie comes out. It ends with us. And you know, I know, but I'm a cohort. I'm a coho girl. So I've heard that it's even better than the book because the book a little problematic, but definitely they said Blake Lively does a great job. And at my campus, I have a adult book club with the teachers, and that was our August book. So we're gonna go see it. And I will report back.
I'll wait until it's streaming. I can't
I'm,
help it.
I'm just gonna skip it all together.
Oh.
Speaking of books and movies, I want this next book to become a movie or a TV show so bad because I love it so
Me
much.
too.
It's In the Hall with the Knife by Diana Peterfruend. This is a YA murder mystery based on the board game Clue. I mean, what more can you ask for? This is a completed trilogy, so you're ready to go and pick this up and get started. It follows teens and staff still stuck on a remote main campus, and they have to seek shelter in the safest building on campus together because of a really serious storm. And they're up in, like I said, Maine, so it's icy, it's gross. And they all hunker down in this house together until the bodies start piling up. And it is amazing. All of the characters have the classic names from the board game, sometimes with the fun little twist. I just absolutely love this. I read it usually every fall, and it's just a total pleasure to read for Clue fans. You will just squeal with delight at all the little hidden references to the game. I just think it's so much fun. And this again is exactly what I'm looking for when I'm looking for dark academia. I love it. This has trigger warnings for blood, murder, death, violence, kidnapping, stalking, and gaslighting. This will work for book in a series, first book in a series, book setting you'd like to visit, and dark academia.
I love this one. And I think you were the one that recommended it to me because honestly, like I hadn't even heard about it. And that's insane. It should be getting as much hype, or it should have got as much hype as like a Good Girl's Guide to Murder or Karen McManus stuff because it is that good. And then also if you grew up playing Clue and seeing the Clue
Mhm.
movie, you know, like we did, it was
Yeah.
just like so nostalgic. I love that series so
I,
much.
as you're talking, I'm like getting on the Goodreads and I'm adding it. I'm like, okay, I'll read it. And if it's good, I'll add it to my
I
library
was just gonna say,
collection.
add it to your
Yes.
library right now. You don't even need to read it. I'm telling you, 100% approved.
Okay,
You're gonna love it.
we'll do it. I will do it.
And those are our recommendations for the week. Special thanks to our guest host, Deb Zeman. Where can our listeners find you online, Deb?
Anywhere with the at Z_Brarian on Instagram, Twitter. I don't know. Amanda,
Blue
where
Sky.
are we?
We're on
Everywhere.
Blue Sky. We're
Blue
on
Sky.
Threads. We're on
Yeah,
TikTok.
Threads. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All
On
Yeah.
those
all the big
things.
ones, all the main
Yes.
socials.
Yeah.
If you want to join us on an episode, visit tiny.cc/books and bingos and fill out our guest host form. If you have any questions, suggestions, or comments, reach out on social media at Books and Bingos or email us at booksandbingos@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and join us again next week when we'll be highlighting some new releases to anticipate in September. Happy reading!